In the summer of 1940, as America was being drawn into the Second World War, 3 car companies competed to win a government contract to develop and build a small reconnaissance vehicle for the U.S. Army, what we know today as the first Jeep.
You can't really say that any one person or entity invented the Jeep. There were multiple fathers involved. The DNA came from various different sources.
Although it was created to win World War II, the battle to build the Jeep had its own winners and losers. The resulting vehicle was nothing short of extraordinary. It captured the hearts and imaginations of a nation and earned the loyalty and respect of the men and women it served. The Jeep was the unlikeliest of heroes. A small yet tenacious vehicle that trudged, forded, climbed, leapt, and fought its way through every theater of war. At a crucial point in history, and in every war-torn corner of the world, the Jeep not only answered the call to fight, but seemed to embody the spirit of freedom. World War I ushered in the modern age of warfare. Trucks and automobiles began replacing horses and wagons. The vehicles were put to the test on the muddy roads and battlefields of Europe, where the merits of four-wheel drive were quickly apparent.
If it didn't have four-wheel drive, it was very often stuck. So the French and the British were buying American four-wheel drives to use on the battlefield there because they couldn't produce the number of trucks that they actually needed. So there were a lot of American FWDs and Nash quads serving with foreign militaries in World War I. The use of four-wheel drive pretty much followed large trucks, though. They didn't have any light four-wheel drives at that time. They wanted a very small, very light utility vehicle that could be used in the battlefield that would kind of replace the motorcycle and be a little more user-friendly. And they tried taking various civilian cars and stripping every superfluous piece of equipment off of them, putting the biggest tires that they could find at the time on them, trying to get them to be adequate off-road performers, and they had only moderate success at that. After World War I, the budgets for the military were drastically cut, and so any development of a light four-wheel drive was pretty much put on the back burner from 1918 to about the late 1930s. The time when we knew that there was a war coming and that we better get ourselves ready for it.
On June 19, 1940, with the Nazis marching through France, the Army Quartermaster Corps sent representatives to the American Bantam Car Company in Butler, Pennsylvania, to discuss the design of a four-wheel drive reconnaissance car. Bantam built small four-cylinder cars at a time when big and powerful models ruled the showrooms. The company had tried selling their cars to the Army unsuccessfully for years and was on the verge of bankruptcy. The Army left Butler with a vision for what they wanted. Bantam, thinking they'd been rescued by a government contract, went to work developing a four-wheel drive car.
Now Bantam probably thought they had a lock on it because they'd spent a lot of time working with the Army fleshing out the idea. But what Bantam didn't know was that the government was sharing that information with other car companies and looking for other manufacturers.
The Quartermaster Corps sent invitations to 135 other car companies, requesting initial bids, blueprints, and a parts list in just 11 days. The winning bidder would then have to complete a working prototype in 49 days. If the pilot car passed the Army's tests, the winner would receive a contract for another 70 vehicles. Bantam called Karl Probst, a freelance designer with a reputation for working quickly. On his way from Detroit to Butler, Pennsylvania, Probst stopped in Toledo to speak with engineers at Spicer about axles and a transfer case for the new vehicle. The Spicer factory was less than a mile from another contender for the same contract, Willys Overland. After arriving in Butler and meeting with the Bantam team, Probst went to work. Using the specs provided by the Army and information compiled by the Bantam engineers, he completed the design plans in just 3 days.
Karl Probst was probably the guy who took the Jeep's first portrait, and he was the first person to put it down on paper.
Bantam and Willys Overland were the only bidders on the initial contract. Although the Willys bid was lower, they couldn't meet the Army's 49-day deadline, and Bantam was awarded the contract to build their pilot car. The question now was, could they do it?